So, you and your doctor have decided that Lexapro or Escitalopram might be the right step for you. That's a big decision, and it's totally normal to feel a mix of hope and, a little bit of uncertainty. In this explainer, we're going to walk through 3 really essential things to know that should help you feel a lot more prepared for the road ahead.
You've had the talk with your doctor, you've got the prescription, but now what? What's this journey actually going to look like, not just on paper, but day to day, week to week? That is the big question. And we're going to tackle it by breaking it down into 3 key things you should know before you even take that first pill.
Okay, and before we dive in, a quick but really important note. This information is here to be a helpful guide, but it is absolutely not a replacement for advice from your own healthcare provider. Your doctor knows you, they know your medical history, and they are your #1 resource. Our goal here is to help you feel more informed so you can ask the best questions.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what we're calling the waiting game and why patience is so important. Then we'll get into the initial hurdle that you might run into. And finally, we'll cover the gentle exit, the right way to stop the medication when it's time. All of this is going to help you get a better picture of your treatment plan.
Starting Lexapro isn't really like flipping a switch, where you feel better instantly. It's much more of a gradual process. Understanding the typical stages of this journey can make a huge difference in helping you stick with it and work with your doctor effectively. So let's map it out.
All right, thing number 1, and this is maybe the most challenging part for anyone who's looking for relief. The waiting game. When you're not feeling great, you want to feel better now. But with a medication like Lexapro, your brain actually needs time to adjust. So patience isn't just a nice idea here, it's a critical part of the treatment itself. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. It is so tempting to think, hey, it's been a week and I don't feel different, this isn't working. But stopping early without talking to your doctor means you could be missing out on all the positive effects that are literally just around the corner.
So what does this timeline really look like in practice? Well, in those first 1 to 2 weeks, you might start to notice some small, subtle changes. But the real therapeutic benefits, that lift in your mood, that quieting of your anxiety, often don't show up in full force for about 4 to 6 weeks. That's because the medication is slowly helping your brain re-regulate its chemical messengers. It's a biological process that just takes time. So think of that 4 to 6 week mark as your first big checkpoint to discuss with your doctor.
Now, for our second point, this is something that can really take people by surprise, which is exactly why you need to know about it beforehand. We're calling it the initial hurdle, and it has to do with an unexpected and frankly a kind of weird side effect.
This is where things can feel, backward. You're taking a medication to help with anxiety, but for some people, it can actually make your anxiety feel a little worse for the first couple of weeks. Now, that can be pretty unsettling if you're not expecting it, but just knowing that it's a possibility can make all the difference.
The good news is, because this initial spike in anxiety is a known thing, doctors have a strategy to help you manage it. It's sometimes called a benzodiazepine bridge. Your doctor might prescribe a short-term medication like Lorazepam or clonazepam, just for that first week or 2. It's designed to help you get over that initial hump comfortably while your body gets used to the Lexapro.
And here's the most important thing to remember. This effect is temporary. It's actually a sign that your brain chemistry is starting to adapt, and that feeling will go away as your body adjusts. Of course, if this anxiety ever feels too intense or overwhelming, that is your cue to call your doctor right away. You are not supposed to go through this alone.
Okay, on to our third and final point, which is every bit as critical as the first 2. This is about what happens down the road, when you and your doctor decide it's time to stop the medication. It's not as simple as just not taking the next pill. It requires a thoughtful plan, which we're calling the gentle exit.
I cannot stress this enough. This is probably the most important safety rule of all. You should never, ever stop taking Lexapro suddenly. Stopping cold turkey can really jolt your brain chemistry and lead to some pretty uncomfortable withdrawal symptoms. This is why working closely with your doctor is so important from the very beginning to the very end.
And this is exactly why that gradual approach matters so much. Stopping abruptly can trigger symptoms like feeling irritable, nausea, dizziness, headaches, and even really weird things like nightmares or a tingling sensation on your skin. Now, these aren't typically dangerous, but they can be incredibly unpleasant. A slow, planned taper is the best way to avoid them altogether.
And here's a fact that surprises a lot of people. The timeline for withdrawal can be a little unpredictable. For some people, these symptoms might not even pop up for weeks, or sometimes even months after their last dose.
This just goes to show why it's so important to stay in touch with your doctor even after you've officially stopped, especially if you start noticing anything that feels off.
So how do you make sure you have a gentle exit? You follow a clear plan. Let's walk through these steps. First, it all starts by consulting your doctor. Together, you'll come up with a tapering schedule. That just means you'll reduce your dose very, very slowly over a period of time. All through this process, you'll keep an eye on how you're feeling and report back, which lets your doctor adjust the plan if they need to.
Okay, we've covered our 3 big things to know: the waiting period, that initial anxiety hurdle, and the importance of a safe exit. Let's pull it all together now into a clear summary of what your treatment plan looks like.
So here it is, your roadmap in a nutshell. First, patience is absolutely your best friend. Give the medicine a fair shot, think in that 4 to 6 week window. Second, expect that potential hurdle of increased anxiety, but know that it is temporary and it's manageable. And third, always plan your exit. Tapering off isn't optional. It's an essential part of a safe and comfortable journey.
Think of your doctor as your co-pilot on this journey. So when should you pick up the phone? Definitely if any side effects feel too intense. If that initial anxiety feels severe, and, this is a big one, before you make any changes to your dose or even start thinking about stopping, open communication is your most powerful tool here.
And you know, that really is the final, most important message. The timelines and side effects we talked about are general guides, but your personal experience is completely unique to you. The single most important factor for success is keeping that open, honest conversation going with your healthcare provider every step of the way.
So, we'll leave you with this question to think about. Knowing what you know now about the waiting game, the initial hurdle, and the gentle exit, how might that change your perspective as you begin this journey? Because being prepared can really transform that feeling of uncertainty into a clear, manageable plan. We hope this has been helpful. Thanks for tuning in.